All right. So for today, for our doggy day school, we have our gorgeous Miss Sophie in today. So we're going to warm up maybe with a little bit of playing first. We'll do a couple little find its too here and there to get her kind of in the groove. So I know it's been a little bit of time. We took a little break from doggy day school because of the holidays and some madness going on, the usual fun. So now we're going to see if we can get our gorgeous gal up and working a few skills and get back in the groove of school. So Sophie is going to be warming up with a couple little find its with then reorientation to me. And then what we might throw in is a little bit with some play. And then I want to work a bit with some of those weights again that she still would like to work on for some practice sake and get some of that under her belt a little bit more refined. And we'll see how she's feeling. So ready? We'll go right into a little find it for Miss S. So again, the benefit of sometimes just warming up with some orientation back to the handler. Nice job, Miss. Is it can start to help your babe start to, from distractions or further away, build in that orientation to you has some great value. So ready, we'll do another little find it. Get her up and wiggling. She looks very cute in her little coat as well again. Beautiful lady. I know some of these are a little bit bigger, but they're easy to break up, which is nice. But I think she's taking her sweet time chewing up that big boy. She's too cute. She's like, I can't function and do multiple things. So she's just gobbling up her tidbits that she didn't find earlier. Ready? So close. There's one more little crumb. Sophie. Oh, the fish was left behind. Good job. Ready? She's like meandering while chewing is hard, guys. Oh my goodness. Here you go, cutie. So with our gorgeous gal, obviously when sometimes we're working on stationary type behaviors, so like working some holding back before either moving or holding back before we go and retrieve them. Obviously for young puppies that have a lot of good energy under their belts, being stationary may seem like the dumbest thing ever. So from their perspective, there's very little value in staying still. So we're going to try and create some great associations again with either our weight behaviors. We might work a little bit with the stays as well. And again, those are both different. So again, we'll do a little nice. So right here as Miss S comes into my space, I feed her for that orientation back to me. Nice job, cutie. So we'll do another little find it. What a smart girl. So ready? Sophie, come. Yes, nice job. So sometimes you can warm up like we've discussed a little bit in class prior, is you could work a little bit with a find it with then working a recall, so working that come when called. If again you prefer, so I know some folks use the word here, some people use the word come. It's whatever makes sense to you guys. So just make sure when you're practicing with your beauty or another babe at home is that you're working again the same slogans for the behaviors you'd like to get really well under their belts. So right here, Sophie, come. Yes, nice job. So for these gorgeous recalls, we're not using the weight quite yet. We're just warming up a little bit with a find it with then the coming when called towards the handler again. So right here, a little find it. And then Sophie, come. Yes, nice job, cutie. You can also work some of these recall practices while you're in the home, obviously, where it's most comfortable and more likely for success. I know she's got her very nice long lead for training and for practice out in the bigger open areas. Those can also be immensely beneficial for getting your babe up and wiggling. And then you can go at a little bit more of your leisurely rate and then have the puppy be exploring and checking out things out in the bubble. So they could be off sniffing or trotting a little bit ahead, but because you've got that extra length, there's a lot less of that sort of jostling from the 6-foot lead that you sometimes get while they're still working through some of that experience outside. Nice job. So sometimes we're just kind of meandering, see if she can start to hone in on me versus the environment, because the environment can be very stimulating. Even though there's no friends out right now to get distracted with for playtime, there's still the odor of the building. There's the funny sights and sounds. So a lot of novelty can sometimes throw off your pups for their comfort range. Ready? Sophie, come. Nice. So really pretty little recall she's rocking right now. What a smart girl. So let's say we're going to work a little bit with some weight behaviors. So again, just to quickly reiterate, weights are going to be where your babe is holding back for a few moments. In the beginning, it might be short and sweet because they can't quite hold back very long for the duration. We do want to think about those 3 Ds, which we've discussed a little bit prior. So your duration, so your time frame in which your babe can handle something or do well. Then there's also your distraction levels and your distances that you might be throwing in. So right here, we might tell her to wait. I might take a little moment where I'm hanging out with her and I'm not adding too much distance, and then Sophie, come. So if you're finding it's awkward sometimes with gear on. You'll see that a lot of times I do practice with them in the center, but they're off gear. I do rotate though, because I want them to feel comfortable working all of these different skills in many different setups. So if, let's say, the only time you ever did was like a weight was off gear and like in your kitchen, your babe may not realize that a weight could happen maybe on gear in a different part of the home or different environment, and vice versa. So that generalization does take some time to work through, but it's important. So again, we're going to tell her to wait. I'm going to try and take a little step back. If she couldn't handle the steps back, I wouldn't add them quite yet. So Sophie, come. I would instead work, for example, side to side by adding some movement without adding distance, if that makes sense. So because if she's barely holding on for a few seconds for those weights, I don't want to go ahead and make it so hard that she keeps constantly wiggling or breaking from her position. She says she's ready for the next one. So I love that she does her little sneezes and snorts. So again, that means she's having a grand time. Ready? So we'll get a little sit from our gorgeous gal. She's like, oh, your sneakers. So we'll have her wait. I love it when she looks up, her little ears flop back. So while she's waiting for a moment, let's say I'm going to try to make this a little bit more challenging. Notice how if I take a step to the side and I switched up the way I looked, she had a little bit of a harder time with it. So right here, I'm just going to lure her back into her position. The building's making a few funny sounds. You may not be able to pick them up on the microphone, but when the heat comes on and off, the building then starts to make some cracky noises. So right here, we might get a little sit. So guys, it's creepy. Ready? Wait. So if, let's say, holding back was a little bit more challenging, I'm not going to add too much wiggle, but just a little bit. And then Sophie, come. Gorgeous. So I'd only do, again, a few reps. If you're finding that she's doing a really stellar job and we make it go for too long, we may be by accident making weights become almost like boot camp again, where it becomes more of a chore than a fun practice moment. I find it can be best to work just a couple good reps, give her a breather, go into a few other skills. So you're rotating through a couple different skill sets so they don't become stagnant or a little bit bored or sometimes even fatigued from working the same skill a few times. So it is nice to work reps so your puppy has the chance to master and get more comfortable with something, but we want to make sure it's not so long that they get almost too tired to maintain those skills. So she's just doing a couple little find its. So maybe what I'd love to try is a little bit with some play with the flirt pole and practice kind of that on-off switch of getting her to get up and excited and moving, and then see if we can get her to relinquish the toy and then play again. So I know I have the two different flirt pole attachments on my two different poles here. She tends to go more for the sheepskin tuggy. She says that one's quite cool. So if, let's say, she's excited over it, I might say, again, my little slogan for starting up some play is I might say, you ready? And then I'll go ahead and say, go get it. And now my toy can come alive and she has to go and chase it. So a lot of times too, we want to make sure play also seems attainable. If sometimes when we're playing, it's too hard, they may just give up. So remember, a lot of times letting your puppy catch the critter, grab the thing, win the toy over when they're playing tug can be a really great way to build comfort and confidence, because some puppies might start giving up on play if it becomes too challenging. So puppies, some will have more drive than others for playtime or for tuggies or for retrieving, and then others may not have that much. So if you're trying to work on building up play, we want to make sure the play seems fun from her end as well. This is really pretty. So ready? We'll go get it. She's like, I actually really want more fish snacks, I think she says. Oh, go get that toy. Nice job. So again, as she's playing with the little critter, she's about the same size, so it's adorable. You want to make sure, I know we've discussed a little bit with, flirt pole safety. So we want to keep the toy low, so your babe doesn't go and jump up high and then land funny, especially if they're first starting to play with this item. Because if we make it, woohoo, where they follow the toy up high, they could hurt themselves. So I do long swooshing motions, sort of like figure eights or big circles. If you're feeling dizzy looking down, I'd recommend to pick a focal point or move around the environment if you can. So you're not just constantly going around in a circle and then getting a little bit, let's say, dizzy yourselves. Wild woman, she's doing a great job. She's like, oh, the door's distracting. Smart girl. So I want to make sure too, again, attainable. Good job, madam. That was so pretty. So two, while the toy is also on the floor, I do like to feed them for taking a break or a little breath from the play. So because if, let's say, your puppy can't relinquish the toy, gets so jazzed they're trying to break the toy or ingest the toy, then I wouldn't add the extra fun or the extra sort of oomph, which could lead to higher arousal, where then your babe, if they can barely let go of something, we don't want to add more fuel to the excitement for right now. So if, let's say, your babe was really having a rough time letting go of something, I'd recommend to start off with the toy exchange game, where I have a few videos of that with a few other previous pups. And then, so right here, I'm just gonna see if I can get her attention. So Sophie, come. Yeah, good job. So if, let's say, for example, your babe is struggling with the flirt pole, I'd start off with something softer. So handheld toys, tuggies, exchanging one tuggie for another to do your exchange of the items. Because if it's always like you swiping the thing or pulling it from their mouths, it kind of can become confrontational, or you might run into more trouble with letting go of things. Nice job, cutie. She's a speed demon. Good job. Good job. I love how she goes so fast. She sometimes has to go past the toy so she has enough ability to turn. She's doing a great job. The wild woman. I love it. Good job, Miss S. So right here, Sophie. Nice, great name recognition. So here you go, ma'am. So if, let's say, there's sometimes moments where your babe is unable to bounce back from the excitement, imagine how hard it might be to bounce back from a distraction. So there's many benefits to play other than just a great outlet, a great way to bond, a great way to create connection. But it's also another great option for practicing with babes or pups or even adult dogs that are still dealing with sometimes overexcitement or big emotions. And now we could potentially help them feel better by practicing play and creating that on-off switch. So now your babe could get excited and know how to come back from it. So because a lot of times that over-arousal can be also sometimes then similar to feeling big emotions in a different direction. What do you think? You get pooped out? She's like, oh, exhausted. So now that she got a little bit of playtime where she was chasing and romping, sometimes it can be beneficial to change up what you work on. So if, let's say, your babe has a really challenging moment holding still, you may find movement behaviors or play or a little exploration or a sniffy walk prior to working a few skills to be very helpful. You ready? So now that Miss S is maybe a little bit more tired, not an exhausted sort of way, good shake off, ma'am. Now you could maybe try again for another stationary position, be it the weight, and see how she feels. So we're gonna see if we can get a little sit from our gorgeous gal. She's like, hold up, she likes one little, are you gonna go for a water break? She just noticed the water dish. So she's gonna quickly grab a drink, which is perfectly acceptable. She was doing some good loops. So with your weight behaviors, remember, just like with anything, if you're trying to work the skill in the moment you need it, you're probably working it in a very challenging dynamic. So I know for her, she's been doing a really great job with a lot of these skills, but make sure that when we're practicing, and I know right now during winter, it's a bit chilly, we don't get out as often, the environment is a little softer. Come spring, when all the critters are out, people are out, dogs are out, it becomes a little bit more challenging to maintain some of that focus on you. So right now she's a bit distracted off in the environment. I'm gonna see if I can get a little recall. Sophie, come. So right now she's thinking. She's like, there's a really good smell. So again, let's say we asked for our skill and nothing happened. Oh, good job. Give them a chance to try to process the situation. So I wouldn't be squealing over and over while my babe is failing either. So if, let's say, she did not respond at all to the first little recall, I would go about half the distance and try to call her from there. So the benefit of making it a little bit of a shorter window is it tends to be easier to regain their focus if they're not super far away from you. If, for example, your babe is, let's say, not great with recalls, obviously, like for youngsters or even adult dogs that are working through recall practice, I'd recommend a long line. So that would be like a longer training leash, that again, 15 to 20 feet. You don't really have to go bigger. Sophie, come. Nice. She's like slowly getting there. And she might have to go up for a little potty break. So maybe what we'll do is we'll come back and we'll work a few more lovely skills. Maybe work a bit with our place behavior and work a bit with that stay. But she's really doing a great job with her name recognition, coming when called, working that play, and then being able to kind of bounce back from that excitement and work a few other skills. She's like, and I'm exhausted. So we'll let Miss S take a little break. We'll come back. I'm going to sneak her out for a little potty, and then we'll keep on going.